Welcome to this Excella University video on the topic of record search features. My name is Thomas Strauss, and I will explain and demonstrate how several search features can be used to expand your record search capabilities. I will begin by showing you the Soundex tool that enables you to perform a phonetic search. That is followed by several wildcard search examples, and finally, how you can use custom fields to look up records. Let's get started. After logging into the Civic platform and navigating to your record space, when you click on the search button and open up your search form, there are several tools that can be used to expand your search capabilities. Soundex is one of those. Also, the wildcard symbol can be used, and custom fields can be incorporated into your record search. The first one we'll look at is the Soundex tool. And Soundex is a phonetic algorithm for indexing names by sound as they're pronounced in English. In other words, a Soundex search identifies search matches based on the way they sound rather than their spelling, taking into account common misspellings. So let's suppose for a moment that I were looking up a record based on an applicant's last name. And you can see in the toolbar that there is a checkbox that says Enable Soundex Search. And the fields on the form that allow for usage with Soundex are going to have a little Soundex icon next to them. And you're going to see this little icon here, for example, with first name. You can see a little icon. If you hover your cursor over that, it will tell you it's a Soundex supported field. So most of your Soundex supported fields are going to be contact related or address related. So contact first, middle, last name, organization name, address, street name would be another one. And Soundex is found in all of the standard Civic platform searches. Where you see those little icons, that indicates it's a Soundex supported field. So in the example I'll use, I'm looking for a record where I'm pretty sure the applicant's last name is Lee, spelled L-E-A, and so I will perform a search for records using the applicant's last name. And at this time, I'm not going to use Soundex. So I will submit my search, and I get no records. So I want to refine that search, and I leave the applicant as the contact type and the last name. I keep the spelling that I think is the correct one, L-E-A. And this time, though, to expand my options to contact last names that sound like L-E-A or Lee, I'm going to check the Enable Soundex Search box and submit the search again. This time I get several records with examples as results, and if I click on one of those, you can see on this one the contact has the last name of Lee but spelled L-I. So that's an example of how you could use Soundex in your searches. The next one we'll look at will be the wildcard search. The wildcard is a special character. In this case, it's the percent symbol. And you can use this in your search criteria to represent one or more characters in a string of characters. When used, it's going to represent an undefined value. You might know that with global search, the asterisk is the wildcard for global search. That's not the case here with record search or search that you'll find in any of the other spaces like an address lookup, contact, professional. In all cases, including the record search, the percent symbol is your wildcard. So a few examples of how that could be used. Let's suppose that I'm looking up a record. I could use the percent symbol as part of this. Let's say I know that the record ends in 03. So I could use percent 03. And essentially I'm looking for any records that end in 03. And I submit the form and I get a list of records that are of various types, but they all have 03 at the end of the record ID. So if I refine that, let's suppose that I wanted to see all the records that have that are temporary records with the TMP in the record ID. So I'll include TMP surrounded by the wildcard in front of it and after it. And I should get a list of records that have TMP in the record ID. So I submit that, and that's what I get. Another search I might do would be, let's say I'm looking up a record that I know in the application name it includes remodel. So percent remodel, and I'll submit that, and I get a couple records, and under the application name column I can see it says remodel in both of those. Another example might be with, say, the contact name. I want to find a record. I know the last name of the contact ends with like Jackson or Johnson, it ends with SON. So maybe I go to the last name and use the percent symbol SON and submit that. And I get a number of results. I'll take a look at a few of these. So the first one, if I open it up, I can see that the contact is Cole Jackson. And the next one in my list of results is Thomas Anderson, also ending with SON. And I'll check out this third one. It's Roy Anderson. So all of these contacts have SON at the end of the contact last name. So those are a few examples of how you might use the wildcard, and it's not just here on record search, it's in all of your Civic Platform searches except for global search. You can use the wildcard. One thing to keep in mind is that the one place you cannot use the wildcard is with a number only field. So record number is both alpha numeric characters. It's not just numbers. So you're able to use a wildcard with record number. But if it's a number only field, such as the street number, you cannot use the wildcard in that situation. So the next feature that we're going to look at is going to be using custom fields to look up a record. When it comes to using custom fields to locate a record, there's a couple of ways that could be done. And before I show you both of those ways to do that, let's take a look at custom fields just to make sure that you understand what we're talking about. On a record, there is usually a tab that says custom fields where fields that are specific to that type of record will be included in subgroups. And here's an example of a record with some custom fields. Things like square footage, some yes, no questions there, date fields, there could be number fields. And you can look up a record based on the values in those various custom fields. These are fields that are defined by the agency and associated with a record. So if I go back to the record search, there are a couple of options. The first one we'll look at is down at the bottom of the search form. I have in my arrangement, it's down at the bottom, I have custom fields label name. And then to the right of that, I have custom fields value. So you could enter a custom field that you're looking for or that you're using, and then enter the value. So in this case, I'm going to use sprinkler system. So on certain record types, there is a custom field labeled sprinkler system, and in that, it's a yes, no using radio buttons. The choices are either yes or no. So essentially what I'm saying here is I'm looking for all the records where sprinkler system is set to yes as opposed to no. So I, of course, need to enter that label exactly as it's found in the system. So I navigate to my submit button and wait for my result. And so I get a number of records that are opened here or returned. Let's take a look at those custom fields. And so here's sprinkler system on this record, and in fact it's set to yes. So that's one way that you could use this search. Another way to do that is, rather than using the form where you enter a custom field label name and then enter the value, another option for that is at the top of the form. You can see it has a drop down for group type, subtype, and category. When your custom fields are created, and this is something that your agency system admin could do, is a custom field could be designated as searchable, and that's at the configuration level. So for all of the custom fields across all of your custom field groups that have been designated as searchable custom fields, if configured correctly, you could choose your record type by using the group type, subtype, and category. And in this case, I will do that. I choose building, commercial, edition, and select the category level. Once I choose all 4 levels of the 4-level version of the record type, down at the very bottom of my search form, I now have custom fields that are found on that particular record type that have been designated as searchable fields. So I'm not seeing all of the custom fields found on that particular record type. I'm seeing just the ones that have been designated as searchable. And the form updated to pull in these particular custom fields. So now you can see I have that same sprinkler system down at the bottom left. Let's say also there's one for work in the right-of-way, yes or no. So let's say this time I want all the records where sprinkler system is yes and work in the right-of-way is no. And you can see there are number fields there and square footage that could be used. Maybe you're looking up records where you know the square footage is a certain number, or other combinations of custom fields. In this case, I'll just use the example of sprinkler system and work in the right-of-way, and then submit the form. So I have a few results that have been returned. If I open up those, I can see that in this first example, sprinkler system is set to yes, and work in the right-of-way is set to no. So the important things to note about using custom fields for your searches is that if you're going to use the record type to pull in custom fields, your form has to be configured to allow that. Your system administrator could do that. And the fields at the configuration level need to be enabled for search And otherwise, you can use the fields that are showing here on my form, custom fields label name, where you designate the custom field you're looking for and you specify the value. So those are a couple of ways that you could incorporate custom fields found on your record types to perform searches. So that will conclude the video on the record search features. You should now be familiar with how to perform a phonetic search using the Soundex tool. You also know how to use the % symbol for wildcard searches, and if configured correctly, you can incorporate custom fields into your record searches. Thanks for watching.